Open Book Chapter 12, Path of Blood and Fire. The heavens still trembled after Ye Tian's golden core breakthrough. Thunderous clouds coiled like dragons, and streams of divine fire licked the broken earth. Mountains split as if ancient giants had struck them, yet amidst that destruction, Ye Tian stood tall, his robes shredded, his body dripping blood, but his gaze sharper than any blade. From the collapsing void, a new gate appeared, its surface crimson, flowing like molten iron fresh from the forge. Beyond it came the roar of countless warriors, the stench of iron and ash, the cries of battles that had long been forgotten. This was the third trial, the path of blood and fire. When Ye Tian stepped forward, the air itself burned. The ground beneath his feet was molten stone, glowing red and black. Rivers of blood flowed endlessly, reflecting a sky ablaze with eternal fire. From the mist rose soldiers, phantoms clad in armor, their swords not steel but flame, their eyes hollow yet blazing with killing intent. A solemn proclamation thundered in his mind. Trial Tower, Stage 3 initiated. Path of blood and fire, burn or be consumed, bleed or be forgotten. The first phantom charged. Its blade, a crimson inferno, cleaved the air with a shriek. Ye Tian lifted his broken sword, and sparks erupted as flame met steel. The impact scorched his flesh, blistering his skin, yet his grip never faltered. He retaliated, his sword intent flowing like a river, splitting the phantom apart. But for every shadow that fell, 3 more rose. The battlefield itself came alive, rivers of blood surging, coiling into a dragon that roared as if to swallow heaven and earth. Ye Tian leapt high, his legs seared by heat, his lungs choking on smoke. With a cry, he thrust his sword downward, his chi bursting like a storm, cutting through the blood dragon's maw. At that instant, fire and blood surged into him, not as enemies but as truths. He did not reject them. He embraced them. His sword roared to life, flame and crimson mingling, his intent burning hotter than ever before. New sword path discovered, flame and blood as one. The battlefield bowed. The phantom general, armored in crimson flame, raised a colossal greatsword and spoke. Only those who burn themselves may ignite the heavens. Their blades met. Ye Tian's weapon shattered, but his will ignited. A new sword, forged of his very life, blazed in his grasp. With a final strike, he cleaved through the phantom general, the dragon, the battlefield itself. When silence fell, he stood alone, his sword still burning quietly, his body torn and broken, yet his spirit unyielding. A final voice whispered. Trial cleared, path of blood and fire, reward, seed of blood flame, vitality critical, phoenix rebirth dormant. Ye Tian dropped to one knee. His strength was gone, but his eyes held a light that no storm could extinguish. The battlefield dissolved. A new gate formed, radiating black mist, reeking of corruption. The demonic abyss awaited. Open Book Chapter 13, The Demonic Abyss. The gate yawned like the mouth of an ancient beast. Black fog poured forth, carrying whispers that slithered into the ear like venom. Each step Ye Tian took was heavier than the last, his body still torn from fire's baptism, but he did not falter. When he crossed the threshold, the world vanished into shadow. There was no ground, no sky, only endless abyss. Voices hissed in the dark mockery, temptation, the cries of demons who had devoured countless souls before him. A chilling decree rang out. Stage 4 initiated, the demonic abyss. Corruption begins. From the void emerged a figure. At first, Ye Tian thought it another phantom, but then he saw its face. His own. Eyes black as night, lips curled into a sneer, chi corrupted into writhing shadow. Why resist? The doppelganger asked, its voice dripping like poison. With demonic power you could shatter the heavens. Why crawl when you could devour? They clashed, sword against sword, intent against intent. But this was no ordinary foe. This was Ye Tian's own shadow, his own hatred, his own desire twisted by abyssal chi. Every strike mirrored his own, every move countered with cruel perfection. Chains of despair wrapped around his heart. Corruption seeped into his veins, blackening his meridians. He stumbled, blood spraying across the void. The proclamation thundered again. Corruption at 12%, mental stability failing. For the first time, Ye Tian did not resist. He drew the corruption into himself, tasting its venom, but instead of drowning, he bound it. Fire and blood tempered it, light and shadow twined together. His sword flared, half divine flame, half abyssal darkness. The abyss shuddered. His doppelganger screamed, its body cracking apart, its essence devoured by the balance Ye Tian forged. A final voice intoned. Balance achieved, yin and yang united, the demonic abyss cleared. The black void shattered into dust. Another gate opened, radiating golden brilliance, the trial of heaven's will. Open Book Chapter 14, Heaven's Will. The golden gate towered higher than the sky, forged of light and thunder. Chains of lightning wrapped around it like divine serpents, striking the earth with ceaseless fury. When Ye Tian stepped through, the weight of the world crushed him to his knees. Stage 5, Trial of Heaven's Will, all power suppressed. His body felt as if mountains pressed upon him. His chi was halved, then halved again. Every movement tore bone from sinew. Above him, a colossal figure emerged, faceless, radiant, a sword of heaven grasped in its hand. It descended with silent judgment, its blade cutting not air but destiny itself. Ye Tian raised his sword. The clash was instant annihilation. His weapon shattered, his body hurled across the void, blood spraying like rain. Yet he rose again. His breath ragged, his vision blurred, but his heart unbroken. The heavens demanded submission. Instead, Ye Tian roared. Fire and blood ignited, shadow and light coiled, all paths fused into one. His sword blazed with chaos itself. The faceless figure swung again, a strike that could erase worlds. Ye Tian's blade met it head-on. For the first time, heaven staggered. Sword intent rising, defiance awakened, suppression resisted. The figure raised its blade again, but before it could strike, Ye Tian's cry shook the heavens. I will walk my own path. Neither heaven nor demon shall bind me. With a single thrust, his sword pierced through divine radiance. The faceless form shattered into 1,000,000 stars, dissolving into nothing. A soft voice lingered. Heaven's will conquered. Reward, star-forged sword mark. The golden world faded. A final gate loomed ahead, bleeding with both holy light and abyssal shadow. The ultimate trial had arrived. The Gate of Destiny. Open Book Chapter 15, The Gate of Destiny. Before him stood a gate of paradox, half gold, half shadow, half burning, half frozen, yet whole in its contradiction. Every trial before now had led to this. A voice older than time itself whispered. The last trial. To claim destiny, you must defeat yourself, past, present, and future. The gate opened. 3 figures emerged. The first was past Ye Tian. Young, weak, desperate, carrying wounds and hunger, eyes filled with longing for survival. The second was present Ye Tian, scarred, bloodied, bearing the weight of every battle, stubborn in his resolve. The third was future Ye Tian, radiant, divine, his sword carved from law itself, his presence so vast it seemed to command the cosmos. Together they attacked. Past Ye Tian struck with desperation, illusions of failure clawing at his heart. Present Ye Tian mirrored his every move, canceling strike for strike. Future Ye Tian's blade descended, unstoppable, severing even space. Blood drenched him, his bones cracked, his soul frayed under the weight of time itself. The proclamation thundered. Vitality at 4%, collapse imminent, corruption rising, willpower overloading. At the brink of defeat, Ye Tian understood. His past was not his chain, it was his root. His present was not his cage, it was his struggle. His future was not his enemy, it was his vision. They were not foes, they were himself. His blade rose, and all 3 figures merged into him. Flame, blood, shadow, and starlight fused into one eternal sword. A proclamation resounded like the birth of a new cosmos. Ultimate path awakened, the eternal Tao sword. With a single strike, he severed past, present, and future. The gate of destiny split apart, collapsing into endless light. Ye Tian stood, broken yet eternal, his body bleeding but his spirit blazing like a sun. A final whisper lingered. Final trial cleared. Reward, eternal Tao seed. Authority fragment, rewrite fate. System evolution beginning. The tower dissolved into silence. Ye Tian fell into the void, unconscious yet undefeated. And somewhere in the depths of his soul, the system began to change. White heavy checkmark, now you have chapters 12-15 written in deep, flowing narration style, perfectly ready for text-to-audio storytelling. Do you want me to now expand each chapter into 15K, 20K words versions? True manhwa audiobook length like chapter 5 you asked earlier? Or keep this epic condensed saga version for your upload? You said, write chapter 15. ChatGPT said, all right, high voltage, let's dive deep into chapter 15, the Gate of Destiny. I'll make it rich, cinematic and flowing, perfect for text-to-audio narration. Open book chapter 15, the Gate of Destiny. The trial tower quaked, as if the heavens themselves feared what was about to unfold. Before Ye Tian rose the final gate, massive, endless, a paradox of all things. Half of it blazed in golden radiance, glowing with the light of countless stars. The other half bled with black shadows, weeping rivers of darkness. Fire coiled around one edge, ice froze the other. It was a gate that did not belong to mortals or gods, but to something older, something that governed the very laws of fate. The air itself seemed to whisper with an ancient decree. The final trial awaits. To seize destiny, you must confront yourself, past, present, and future. The gate groaned open. From its depths emerged 3 figures. The first was a boy, thin and frail, with eyes full of hunger and longing. His hands trembled as he clutched a dull blade. This was Ye Tian of the past, a youth who had crawled through suffering, who once dreamed simply of survival. The second was a man scarred by countless battles, robes torn and soaked in blood, but whose gaze burned like unyielding fire. This was Ye Tian of the present, the one who had endured the flames, the abyss, the chains of heaven, and still refused to kneel. The third was divine. Clad in flowing robes of white and gold, his aura vast as the cosmos, he held a sword that pulsed with pure law. His presence was overwhelming, not human, not mortal. This was Ye Tian of the future, a sovereign who had pierced the heavens, a god who ruled over fate itself. The 3 stood in silence. Then, as one, they drew their blades. Red triangle pointed down section 1, the clash of eras. The first strike came from the past. Desperation fueled it, raw and untamed. His blade carried hunger, fear, the madness of survival at any cost. The second came from the present, balanced, tempered, honed through endless battle. A mirror of Ye Tian's own movements, perfect, relentless. The third descended from above. It was not a strike of steel, but of law. Space itself split. The world trembled as if refusing to exist before that blade. Ye Tian, standing alone, raised his sword. The clash shook the void. The boy's desperate illusions tore at his heart, memories of failure, voices of scorn, the helplessness of weakness. The present self's blade locked his movements, countering every strike with precision. The future self's divine sword carved the air itself, each stroke promising absolute annihilation. Blood poured from his mouth. His body screamed under the weight of 3 timelines pressing down upon him. His spirit wavered. And then the voice returned. Vitality at 4%, collapse imminent, corruption rising, willpower overloading. Red triangle pointed down section 2, breaking under destiny. Ye Tian staggered. His arms shook, his vision blurred. The past self struck again. You will always be weak. The present self sneered. You will always bleed. The future self declared. You will always submit. Their voices became chains. Their swords became shackles. His own spirit began a crack. The abyss whispered to him, fall. The heavens thundered, kneel. For a breath, Ye Tian almost did. Red triangle pointed down section 3, the eternal realization. But then, deep within, a spark flared. He remembered the boy who had starved yet refused to die. That was not weakness, it was root. He remembered the man who bled but continued to walk. That was not futility, it was struggle. He saw the sovereign of the future, radiant and divine. That was not a chain, it was vision. Past, present, future, none were enemies, they were him. With that realization, his heart roared, his chi surged, his spirit blazed. He lowered his blade, not in surrender but in acceptance. Flame and blood, shadow and starlight, all paths he had walked fused together. His sword rose, no longer fractured by time. Red triangle pointed down section 4, severing destiny. The void trembled. The three selves froze as his blade ascended. When Ye Tian swung, it was not one man's strike. It was the strike of a life entire. The hunger of the past, the scars of the present, the vision of the future. All became one. The three figures shattered, dissolving into light. The gate of destiny split apart, its paradox undone by unity. Above, a proclamation echoed, vast as creation itself. Final trial cleared, the eternal Tao sword awakened, reward, eternal Tao seed, authority fragment, rewrite fate, system evolution initiated. Red triangle pointed down section 5, aftermath. The tower dissolved, the void turned silent. Ye Tian stood alone, drenched in blood, his body torn beyond recognition. Yet in his hand burned the eternal Tao sword, a blade not of steel but of spirit. Its light pulsed in rhythm with his heart. He exhaled, the world faded, his knees buckled, darkness claimed him. But in that darkness the system pulsed, not cold, not mechanical, alive, awakening. And as Ye Tian fell into unconsciousness, a new journey began.